You guys, I literally wish I was joking. I just filmed this entire video. 20 minutes. And A, didn't save 10 minutes of it. And B, the other 10 minutes, the volume wasn't working. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Elizabeth, and welcome to today's video. Usually I'm having fun girly pop moments on here, but today we have a little different moment. And that is I am going to be telling the story about getting sober in my 20s, how it changed my life, and just kind of a story. I've been putting this off for 5 years. I always wanted to film a video. I do TikTok sometimes, but I always wanted to film a sit down video. But every time I would sit down and film it, I would hate what I said. And either it was too dark or it was too light or I didn't like the way I looked, which it's ironic that I'm filming it in one take now, looking like this. Hi. Okay. Yeah, hi. My name is Elizabeth and I am a recovering alcoholic and addict. I've been sober 5 years tomorrow. I filmed this and I actually have the entire video edited on YouTube and I just didn't like it. So here I am doing a one cut wonder. I tried to make it 10 minutes. I've accepted that it's going to be 20 minutes and I'm going to pray that my phone doesn't die before I finish it. Okay, let's just get into it. Okay. let's take a breath together because I just did this for 20 minutes and feel a little out of breath and fatigued. So hi. Let's just start with my story. I come from a long line. I knew I had it in my bloodline, and I thought I knew better. Turns out, she did not. And actually, fun fact, for a really, really, really long time in high school, I was like, I'm gonna be the one that's so different and doesn't drink. Like, I'm never gonna drink. It's so stupid. And well, we see where that led us. I actually have a Facebook album that says, oh, we're going to be the most boring college kids because my friend and I were like, we're never going to drink. Anyway, the point is my story. Hi. So I knew basically from the very first time I got drunk that I had a problem and I was going to have to get sober one day. And I knew I would have the resources when I was ready, and I was not ready. I had a very tumultuous late teens, early 20s. I haven't, not have an issue. I always had a problem, and it really wasn't until the last few years that I've been able to kind of separate, and two things can be true at once has been a big thing in my recovery because I have so many amazing memories where going out and being crazy and young and fun with my friends, but also, at the same time I was having just a horrible, horrible experience in life. I was having lows. My depression was really bad. My anxiety was insane. But also say is the very first time I got drunk, I know I had a problem. Some people say they knew from the very first sip. Nope, the very first time I had that magic elixir and I felt normal for once in my life, which is something I always yearned for. Right before I got sober for good, I did this exercise that took months called Sticks and Stones. No, it's called I don't remember. Something in Flowers and Stones. Flowers and Stones. And basically you go through your entire life. And you go through every single event that happened to you. Big, small, both good, bad, medium, whatever. And I still owe my life to that therapist because that I had been in therapy my entire life, and that exercise is what I needed at that moment, and it healed so much of my deep-rooted trauma I had no clue I was still carrying around. So my recovery is a little different than what I think most is because I, at that point, felt so healed and on cloud nine that I was I don't even need to be in a program. So I wasn't in a program until 2 years in. And I thought I could do it all by myself. And I tried, and it was a really rough go at it. And I hope I never have to do that again. So yeah, that's kind of the best part is you don't have to do it alone. So anyway, back to my story. I drank a lot, dabbled in other things, and by the time I was a sophomore or like 1920, I was like drinking half a handle of vodka like a week. I mean, probably more than that. I was pre-gaming with a bottle of wine, a literal bottle of wine, and then going and drinking like all these mixed drinks. There's no telling what my A1C was during these days. So, anywho, also say is all of it was just me trying to feel normal, and I had finally gotten that magic elixir that made me feel normal. I didn't have anxiety. I didn't want to like, check out. And I I felt like I was finally someone fun to be around, and I could let loose and like be myself. And it was fun until it wasn't anymore. And all these insane things started happening. I can't say that on the internet, I don't think, but I got in like really shoddy situations and put myself in danger when I didn't need to. And alcohol had such a grasp and like control of my life, and I was like a prisoner to drinking and partying. And I'm so grateful I'm not anymore. So, anywho, I had like ups and downs. Like the first time I knew I was like over it and wanting to get sober was like right at my 21st birthday. That was like one of the darkest times of my life. And I knew I needed to get out of the situation. And eventually I did. But I had pieces of time where I would like get sober for a little bit, go back, all these broken promises. I would only drink beer, all the things that alcoholics do. And yeah, eventually it just like it got to be too much. And there were so many times in my life that I went to people in my life and they were like, it could like you should really think about doing this. It would be a really good thing. And you can't help someone who doesn't want to help you. So March 13th, 2021, I was at the beach. I had just gotten a job in Fernandina, and I knew that if I did not get sober then, I was never going to get sober, and I just keep letting alcohol hold me in prison, and it would just keep ruining all these things that I was working so hard to get in life. And like, what was the purpose of healing all this trauma if you're just going to go and burn it to the ground? So yeah, I went out with my friend. We celebrated, had a pretty mild night, which is crazy because I probably drank way like so much, but didn't know it was gonna be my last night. I woke up the next morning like I had a million times before, and looked at myself in the mirror, and I like literally when I was at the beach this summer in the same type of hotel, it was the same hotel that I got sober in. I literally looked in the mirror and was like, this is so crazy that I stood in this mirror and I was like, if you don't stop now, this is going to kill you. You're never going to have any opportunities, and you're going to ruin your life over something so stupid. And you have so many goals and ambitions and things you want to do, and you can't do that whenever this is still at play. So anyway, I had the concoction of depression, anxiety, and addiction. I have always had a brain that never shut off. And whenever I talked to someone that was an alcoholic, they're like, my brain does this. I was like, oh, whoopsies. My brain might do that too. So yeah, I truly, I felt like, my life was revolving around drinking, and I really felt like it was holding me prisoner. Getting into the rooms, like I said, it really changed my life. There are so many types of meetings for so many different people. There's young meetings, there's women meetings, there's co-ed. I mean, there's really anything you can think of, and it's such a power that came from the pandemic is having so many meetings. Like, I still go to California meetings, and I live in Dublin, Ireland. There's virtual meetings all the time. Same goes for Al-Anon. Some people like Al-Anon better, and feel like it's like not as intense. And I think you just have to try everything out and see what sticks. There's also a million other recovery resources. I went to a bunch of different women meetings that were not AA type women meetings before I actually got into the rooms, and I enjoyed them. They aren't as like profound because I think like I grew up on Al-Anon and the steps and all that stuff, so I'm in a weird way like more comfortable with that. But getting into the meetings is really what changed my recovery process. Being able to be in there and like the walls taken down, you don't have to put any sort of facade. There are a million people in there, and like while you may have the same story as somebody else in there, and if you stay in the rooms long enough, you will. You also have this one thing in common, and that is that you decided a different life for you and you're sober. So, might be a different drug of choice, might be whatever, but you all have this one commonality, and it's kind of like diabetes camp. I always tell people that it felt so nice to be surrounded by people that are just like you. Um, yeah, so my first year was really, really traumatic and hard. I had a really, really hard time. I lived in my college town in a two-bedroom apartment by myself. And you know, it was really hard. I called my parents like crying probably like once a day. And I knew that I just had that year and I had to stick it out. And it was something that I did by myself that I didn't need to do by myself. Like I did it by myself for no reason. And when you know better, you do better. I know better, I do better. So yeah, I think one of the things that really, what does it say? I can't even read my own handwriting. Oh, I was writing like things. Okay, got it. It really is just like all the what do you call it? Like the slogans and stuff they say from AA and just like recovery and stuff like that, like really do ring true. And you know, being in the rooms is hard. I'm not going to talk too much about AA, because is coveted the right word? People get very like touchy on things you share and don't share, because that is the anonymity part of it. Um, and that's another thing why I haven't filmed this video is like, you know, it's one thing to get up at a meeting and talk, but it's another thing to put it on the internet for anyone to see and judge and take in a different way. And I actually have gotten a lot of cyberbullying on my addiction things. So hopefully you guys will be kind in this video. But anyway, it is the best thing I ever did in my life. I've never once woken up and regretted not drinking. I, at the time of getting sober, I was having like, what do you call it? Like Sunday scaries for a week at a time. It was horrible. Like I was wanting to like, you know. So yeah, my life changed in a million and one different ways, and I'm so grateful. And every year has been so different. Um, and it really, like, if you're having a hard time, I'm not going to sugarcoat it because your first year of sobriety or your first few months are really, really hard. You are totally like shedding the skin, and you're just kind of like raw skin walking around. Every little thing's going to bother you. And you have to like rediscover yourself. You have to rediscover like this new version of you that you were building yourself into. And you know, getting sober only removes one factor. It only removes alcohol from your life. It does not magically make you better. It does not magically fix anything. It only is the first step to a new pathway in life, or a new life. And I think a lot of people just like sometimes are like, oh, well, you get sober and everything changes. No, you get sober and you start the process of like being an alcoholic and seeing why you're numbing the things and going through everything, in the first place. So yeah, I'm trying to think what else I wanted to say on that. I think that's basically it. I was very lucky that I grew up in the program and had a lot of people I knew in the program to lean on. A lot of people aren't so lucky, and a lot of people aren't lucky enough to know like they have a problem. I think Steve-O talks about it a lot. Like, so grateful that you're a full-fledged addict and alcoholic versus kind of having one foot in, one foot out, and not knowing. So yeah. Anyway, I have like I wrote like tips and things. I actually was messaging someone the other day, so I was like, what are some things I said to that person? As far as like going out and stuff, I feel like, I don't know if this is like common, but for myself at least, whenever I was going out and I was drinking, I knew like some nights that before anything even happened, before I took my first step, I knew like it was gonna be a horrible night. Like I was gonna be reckless. It was gonna be horrible. I think my friend's about to die. Okay, so like I was saying, I have like a list because I was talking to someone the other day, so we're giving them advice. So oh, I know what I was saying. I remember. Like I feel, at least for myself, my own journey, I did not go out for a while. I was probably like a year sober when I started like going out with friends, because you know the fact of it is I was in my like early mid 20s, depending on how you do COVID years. I would say I was in my early 20s when I got sober. And the reality is, like, a lot of your friends are still going out, and I think every person's journey is different. For myself and my own journey, I had to be okay with being around and being out, or I didn't have to be okay. I wanted to make sure I was okay to start going out with friends and stuff like that. And so I put like ground rules, and some of mine are like I have to always be in charge, like I always have to be driving or have access to somehow get out of the situation. I always have non-alcoholic drinks, especially like pre-game drinks, so like Red Bull or Diet Mountain Dew or something like that, to have in my hand wherever I am, like if it's a pre-game or a bar or whatever, just so I don't feel uncomfortable. I also started keeping so many like non-alcoholic options in my apartments, because I feel like that's just like such a good way, especially if you're like a ritual drinker, like if you want a crispy Diet Coke on a Friday night when you'd usually be going out, I would fix myself like a Roy Rogers or whatever. Anyhow, I think something people really don't talk about as much, but is like really important, is I mean, people talk about it, but here's just my thought on it. Is friendships. First of all, I think the most important part is you have to surround yourself with people who are going to support your sobriety. I had to cut people out of my life that were not supportive, could not understand, and if it was for a month or 6 years, like if it comes back around, it comes back around. I have a lot of friendships that they did not come back around. I had, you know, it can be lonely, and it was lonely, and I'm so grateful that I had so many people supporting me. But you have to be okay with the fact that you, especially in early sobriety, are going to be like getting to relearn yourself. And so you need to know, like, there are going to be like lonely nights when you wish you could just like go out with your friends and be normal, but you have to choose your sobriety and yourself first. And I surrounded myself with people who only supported my sobriety and wanted the best for me and understood that it was an issue, and to like meet me where I was at, whatever it meant. And I just had to accept like I was gonna lose friendships, and you know, like I said, some friendships come back and some didn't. And that's just life. Like the Harry Styles quote. Sometimes like people were just there for one point in time. It doesn't make it less impactful or sentimental or anything. That's just life. Like some people are just there for a season. Yeah, and I think like, you know, you have to rebuild that network around you of support with people who are really supporting you in your sobriety and want the best for you. And yeah, so I think that's basically it. Let me think. I have to say, like, it took years for me to like feel normal again. I'm never gonna be the version of myself that I was before drinking, because I was a child and super young. But you know, one of the goals that I set for myself is like, I wanted to have that naiveness and like the pure joy. And when I was growing up, I just wanted to experience life like that with like as much childlike wonder as I could get again. And I have. And I have gone and done a million things that I didn't know I'd be able to do. I always was so stressed out about my first grief because when I lost my grandma, it was about a year and a half-ish before I got sober, and it was a burnout. Oof. If you know, you know. And so I was terrified of navigating grief sober for no reason because there were so many people, amazing people around me, people in the program. They gave me advice and helped me. And I've now, you know, not only did I lose my grandma when I was sober, I lost my grandma and my aunt within like 3 or 4 months. And I've navigated a lot. I just wanted to put this in because I'm editing this. What I wanted to say here that I didn't get out is like those are the times, like the hardest times, at least in my sobriety so far. Obviously, I have so much life to live and there's going to be so many more hard times, but those are the times that I lean on my sobriety the most. And all I have to do is focus on the one thing that's most important, which is my sobriety, and everything else might be crumbling and going wrong around me, and I might have to sit through a meeting sobbing, but I'm there and I'm sober and I'm present and I'm feeling the feelings. Okay. Love you guys. Really hard things. And I, for so long, thought like getting sober in your 20s was like tragic, and just like all the things that you think when you're trying to get sober, like, oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to drink at my wedding, and da, da, da. Those type of thoughts have like swapped. And it's like, oh my God, I'm so lucky that I got to get sober so early in life. Like I have all of this life ahead of me. And yeah, it's magical and it's hard and it's worth it. I have to celebrate the little things. On the days like I get overwhelmed that I not only have a lifelong illness of diabetes that I'll never be able to get rid of, I also have a lifelong illness of addiction and mental health that I'll never be rid of. Like you have those days. I have days where I break down. I didn't know I could cry this much. People say like when you get sober, you realize how much you can cry. Babe, she was crying for sure. And I still do. I will be like shopping and see one thing and just like burst into tears. I legit almost cried yesterday in the coffee shop, but that's more of a grief thing and less of a alcoholism thing. Anyhow, you know, you have to sit and you have to heal all these things that factored in to your addiction, and you have to like know that, you know, it's good right now, but there might come a time that it's not so good. And just like life, you have like hills and valleys, and you have times when you're gonna feel on top of the world, and you're gonna have times when life fucking sucks. And there's been times when I just like have to get up and put one foot in front of the other, and the only literal thing that I can put above all else is my sobriety and my recovery. And if I put that at the top of the list, everything else underneath is gonna fall into place, and it'll all work out. So anywho, I hope you took anything away. I can't explain to you how much I do not want to post this video, but I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone. I'm doing it. Can you hear my tummy? I'm hungry. And I'm doing it. And yeah, I hope it helps just one person. I love you guys. Hope you enjoyed. I promise the next video is going to be such a fun video. And I will talk to you guys later. I remember what I was going to say is it took me literally, I was like going into almost I think I was going into year 4 to be able to like dance again and feel like carefree and not feel judged or feel like everyone's watching me, not feel the awkwardness that I needed the alcohol to take the edge off for. So And that's all in Raw Dogging Life. Love you guys. Bye.